We have got a lot of drugstore makeup to talk about, so let's get started. My hair is looking extra super crazy because I have a fresh cut, spoiler alert, and I have no product in my hair because I'm gonna film a hair tutorial. All right, this is going to look just marvelous for a while, but let's hop into it. I'm not gonna do this fully uncut because we might be here till next Tuesday, but this will probably still be a longer video because we have lots of new drugstore products that are new to the market and then several new to me. I'm gonna do a full face of drugstore. So most everything is new. There might be a few repeats, but let's start off with the new foundation from Maybelline. This is the Lifter Plump and Glow foundation. And I have two shades. I usually do this to get one that's kind of more my sunless tanning shade and then one that's a little lighter. So I purchased 220 and 118, which are the same shades that I love in this formulation. I've tried this foundation a couple times. The second time I used the Maybelline Grippy Serum, and I liked it much better. So I'm gonna start off with that first. I have already done my skin prep with sunscreen and moisturizer, but I'm gonna put a little bit of this on. I am not typically a primer girl, so if you're new here, you might not know that, but I usually think that foundations should perform well all on their own, but sometimes they might need a little help. So I'm gonna do this again today and we'll see at the end what we think. And I'm mostly just putting that right through the center of the face. Now I did also already apply my eyeshadow primer, which is the Ulta Matte Veil Primer, not new. And I didn't have a new one from the drugstore. So let's go ahead. I'm going to apply the foundation because I feel like this is one that really needs some extra time to set down. And I have quite a bit of sunless tanner on. So I think I'm going to use mostly 220. I do feel like the shades are slightly different than the other Maybelline shades in those same numbers. So here is 220. And that's pretty close. I do have a couple of new bronzers, so I want to make sure that I don't get my skin too dark to start off with. And I do feel like this oxidizes just a little bit. So I'll mix in just a touch of 118 with that, so we don't start off too dark and we can't go darker with our bronzer. But that's a pretty close match tone-wise. So this foundation is a little bit of a mystery. I feel like certain people who don't love the 30-hour Lumi Matte love this one and vice versa. So I feel like this one, for me, seems to be much more glowy than the other one. But let's see what happens over that primer. And I'm just using this Buzzy Beauty foundation brush today. I have used a couple of different types of brushes, but this one is the 902. It's one of my favorites for foundation, so kind of want to have something that I know is reliable to blend this in, and then we can give it a better evaluation. All right, I have that applied all over my face. I am using my fingers just to kind of press that in to the skin, work it in just a little bit. So right off, the coverage level is a lot lighter or sheerer, I feel like, than the 30-hour Lumi Matte. So I'm comparing those two because I feel like they're supposed to be kind of similar, but this one is maybe just supposed to be a little more luminous. But I do find the coverage on this one to be less. And because it stays more in that luminous category, I do feel like it shows texture more, but we're gonna let that sink into the skin and let's go to the eyes. For eyeshadow, I have this new liquid eyeshadow from e.l.f. I know they have come out with those metallic eyeshadow sticks. I have not purchased those yet, but I saw these and I haven't heard anything about them. The shade I picked up is Current Mood. Let's just see what this color is, and then that's gonna determine what other shadows I bring in alongside it. Ooh, that's pretty, but it's pretty deep. Ooh, that's really pretty though. Okay, let's check the texture. It says it's a velvet matte eyeshadow, and it definitely is. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh my goodness. Okay, can we pull this together in a look for today? Okay, I'm gonna let that sit on my hand. That might be a mistake, but let's see how well it sets down. And in the meantime, let me just pull in a couple of neutral eyeshadows. I need a cream shadow. So this is the Milani. This is the Gilded eyeshadows in Whiskey Business. And I'm just gonna use this, maybe a little tap in there. Let's do a little bit of just powder first. Okay, we're gonna do something daring and bold. Let's just go in with the eyeshadow, and I'm going to plan on putting it all over the lid. I'll leave the inner corner open. Let's just see how this applies and blends out. And again, I did apply an eyeshadow primer. I know sometimes with products like this, they say you don't have to, but I have extremely oily eyelids and just about everything needs a primer underneath for me. So I'm gonna see how blendable this is. Ooh, I love that color. Oh my goodness. It's a really pretty shade. And actually, it is shearing out real nicely. I'm just using, this is a Dalton eyeshadow brush. But any synthetic bristle brush should work with a cream shadow to blend out. Okay, I kind of like that. I can tell these do seem to set very quickly, so you definitely want to work one eye at a time. And the formula is interesting. It's not a watery texture like the Armani liquid eyeshadows are. It's definitely thicker, but I feel like you get good payoff with just one layer. And I'm probably gonna need some work blending in the crease, but that's where I think I'll probably just bring in maybe my bronzer for today. Or you could use an eyeshadow through there. I'm gonna put a little bit of this under my eyes because I don't have a new eyeliner for today. So let's see. I'll put a little bit of this on the back of my hands and then bring in a BK Beauty 204 brush. Just put this underneath the lash line. And then I want to see if I can build up a little more color right at the lash line. Let's just see if these layer. I think I'm going to leave it there because sometimes I feel like with cream shadows, they can kind of start picking up what's underneath if you manipulate them too much. So I want to give these a good chance. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of my bronzer through the crease and see if we can just kind of gently blend the edge of that shadow. And this is a newer one from LA Girl. I kind of feel like they just repackaged this because they had a bronzer like this before. It was bigger. And then now they have 3 shades. This is the shade Shadow Play, and it's called Duo Bronzer Palette. You can see you have kind of more of a cool tone and then a warm tone. So you can contour and bronze technically, or you can just blend them all together. I'm gonna go in with the BK Beauty 201 brush, and I'm actually gonna just blend those two together. And let's just see if we can just soften the edge of that shadow. Yeah, that worked well. Okay, so this is the part of the makeup that it always starts looking a little scary and you might be tempted to go wash your face. Let's not do that. Let's keep going. I do have 2 face palettes from Pixi that they sent to me. These are the Hello Kitty. This is Anywhere palette. And then this is just the Charming Glow palette. Now, when this one arrived, let's see, I think there's like 4 of these were completely crushed. So I smushed them back in place and they are so creamy. They've kind of stayed put. But these are all shimmery glowy. You can use them on the cheeks and the eyes. It says that specifically. And then this palette, the Anywhere palette, same kind of thing. And this does have this matte shade, which is really beautiful. If you are fairer skin, this could be just a really nice light little bit of color. And then we've got 2 shimmery bronzers, and then the 3 here all have shimmer. So I think right now I'm just gonna go into this palette and pick up a little bit. I have tried this a few times. Look at how beautiful and just reflective these are. And as I said, they are just super, super buttery. I think I might go in with a little bit. Let's do this one. And by the way, if you're noticing my nails and you've been around here a long time, you know this is quite odd for me. I did film a video applying these new gel nails. That video will be coming, but it's a new product from Dashing Diva. So stay tuned for that video. Okay, that was really nice. I just put a little bit of the center shade on the inner corner, and we'll have to touch this up at the end after we do concealer, but I just kind of wanted to put a little bit here just to help brighten things up. And getting used to these nails, gonna have to use my brushes a little bit more for these tighter areas. I don't know how you ladies do long nails like this or even longer. I'm gonna be pretty much useless for the week, but okay. Let's go ahead and leave it there for a moment and let's clean up under the eyes. I have 4 different concealing type products we're gonna talk about. I cleaned up under my eyes with a little bit of almond oil and I was just rubbing across this shadow and it does not appear to be going anywhere. So that is a good sign. I purchased 3 of the new e.l.f. Soft Glam Concealers and 2 of them are kind of color correctors and then 1 is an actual concealer. So the concealer shade I purchased is 21 Light Neutral and I've tried this once. I don't recall being like blown away, so we're gonna try it again together. This is the color Light Neutral. I think that will actually work for me today. And then I was really curious about this white shade of corrector, and then also I purchased light pink. So the white, my thought is that this you can use to help lighten your concealer shade, but I have seen somebody apply this like directly to their inner corners as a brightening shade. It's definitely a different consistency than the actual concealer. And I don't know, I don't see myself applying the white all on its own. Here is the light pink color corrector. So usually I prefer something a little more peachy for color correcting, but I'm gonna go ahead, I will use this, but I also have the new Maybelline Lifter Concealer. I've heard some people really love this. And I'm just gonna tell you, I felt like this looked dry, it did not cover. The color I got is a little bit light for me, which can be part of the issue. I have no idea what color I have. This frustrates me with drugstore products sometimes. Is it that hard? Like, we just need a little sticker, something, and I shouldn't have to hunt through, you know, layers of labels. I don't know what color this is, but a little bit light. Let me just show you this on my under eyes though, because I thought if the formula is good, I'll go back and get a different color. But this is dry. I don't know. The people that I've seen use this, they love it and they're like, oh, it's really hydrating and really glowy. And I don't know. So, I mean, it's light. So obviously it's not going to fully disguise the darkness, but it just clings to all of my texture under there. And it is glowy, but it's not, I don't feel like as this sits that it gets any better. It actually gets drier. And I have the cross hatches right here and like already, and I really need to build this up to get any more coverage. So this has just not been a win for me. My best friend Erin also tried it, had the same exact experience. So that made me feel a little better. But if you love this concealer, great. I just want to cast in my review as somebody who did not love it, because I know sometimes when you only see that everybody loves a product, you might think that it is perfect. And why didn't it work for you? Maybe it was you. But if you've tried this concealer and you have felt like it's really dry and didn't cover well, you're not alone. I've repaired that with a little more almond oil, and now let's go in with e.l.f. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of the color corrector, this pink shade. It's, again, because it's pink and not peach, it's going to be more brightening than color correcting, but I'm hoping that it's going to help. I also purchased the concealer brush that they came out with. It says Tap and Blend Concealer. Obviously, I've been using it and loving it. This is denser and a little bit wider than this is the BK Beauty A506. And it goes a little more kind of straight across rather than this one that is quite angled. But I do find this to be a nice brush. It's more dense, if you can believe that, than the A506. So I feel like that helps maintain more of the coverage there. Okay, so now we've got pink, a little brighter. Let's go in with this concealer. And again, I have the shade 21 Light Neutral. Ooh. And like I said, I have tried this, but I don't remember. I remember not hating it, but I don't know if I'm blown away. I have a couple of other drugstore concealers that I do really love, but I thought we would try this one together. And this one is at a really great price. I think these are $5. And I have to say, I do love the packaging. I love that they gave us a doe foot applicator instead of a sponge tip. Thank you, e.l.f. And actually, I think that blended in pretty nicely. And I would say this is a little more light medium coverage. It's not full, but that's okay. I think as long as I get enough coverage that I don't feel like I have to do too many layers. It is very brightening. And FYI, I am not a fan of the Soft Glam foundation. So don't think that you have to like one to like the other. I definitely am not a fan of that foundation at all, but I'm always open to potentially liking something else under the same lineup. So, okay. I think that actually did a pretty good job of brightening things. You can still see a little bit of shadow, but that's because we didn't really get a good color correct. We just got brightness. So I think overall it looks fine. We'll see how it powders or how powder goes over it. All right, let's move on to bronzer and blush. First, I'm going to contour. So Winky Lux sent me 2 of their liquid cheek products. This one's the blush. I think I used this on camera maybe, but I also received the contour shade. And what color is this? I'll put it down below. But I think I might have talked about this in my year-end favorites, but this was so new. I didn't really feel like I could fully say for sure, but I love this. This is so nice. And you just tap it on and then we blend it out with a brush before it dries, preferably. Oh, it is a Monday when I am filming this and I'm feeling a little punchy today. Okay. Do you see how beautiful that is? Oh, and it is a cooler tone, so that's why I'm using it as a contour. It does come in a couple of different shades. I don't remember how many, but this is the perfect shade for me. And you can see it kind of goes a little bit reddish as I blend it up, and I just love it. I think it's so beautiful. This has worn very well. I would say it reminds me a bit of the Rare Beauty contour, which I love. And I feel like this one does blend in fairly well. It might be a little bit thicker consistency than the Rare Beauty, but I think it's beautiful and it gives a great amount of color payoff. Ooh, we are glowy. Oh, this is that point when I'm really dying to put a little powder on my face, but not yet. We'll hold on. Now, in my search to find some drugstore products that will work for underpainting, I purchased the Rimmel Multitasker, and this is a 3-in-1 bronzing stick. I have 2 shades here, and I'll just swatch these because I have another product I'm going to use instead. But I've used these in the underpainting method, and unfortunately, these are much more of a gel formula. And what that means is they really just fade to like nothing. So these are not going to be what you're going to be successful with underpainting. I did, however, find a couple of other options. Stay tuned for that video. So these are kind of okay. I found them to go on just a little bit patchier because they are sheerer. And so I've struggled with these. So these I was not a fan of. However, I also saw that L'Oreal came out with bronzing sticks, and these are the Lumi Bronze, and these are what we're going to use today. Now, I'm going to start off with the shade Toasted Sunlight. And this is a beautiful, beautiful bronzy shade. This does have some glow and some shine, but no chunky particles. I haven't actually tried this like applying it directly to my face, but let's try that together today. And again, I'm going to use this is just the BK Beauty 109 brush to blend that in. This is a beautiful formula. This does not lift your foundation underneath, even with a real sheer kind of glowy foundation like what I have on today. And I really think L'Oreal did a great job with this formulation. Again, on the cheeks, you can see glow, like the Lumi Glotion, but not chunky glitter. And I think these are a great product. They're so smooth, glide so easily onto the skin. Love it. Now, my one caution is I was a little bummed when I ordered this other shade because this shade is called Sun-Kissed Rose. And the swatches online, they show it on models, and I think also on maybe swatched on arms. It's not true to color. Let me show you this color because I thought Sun-Kissed Rose, and by the swatches, I was going to get a nice kind of cool tone bronzer that I could recommend to all of you fair skinned girls. And this is what we got. This is very, very peachy orangey. So I've seen this on very fair skin and it comes across even more warm. I'll apply a little bit. It's a beautiful blush, but it's peach. It is not pink, so it's heavily leaning on the sun-kissed part of that rose. It is not the pink part, but it is a beautiful blush if you like more orangey tone, peachy tone blushes. So I think it's beautiful and I love it, even with my eyeshadow look I've got going on here. So just be aware. Don't buy it and think it's gonna be a nice cool toned rose color, but taking it as it is, it does make a beautiful blush. All right, for powder, I think I'm just gonna use this duo from Wet n Wild, the pink powder under my eyes and the regular translucent over the rest of my face. I feel like, especially over that foundation, I need a really heavy duty setting powder, not just a light finishing powder. And before I powder under the eyes, I actually don't see a lot of creasing. There's maybe a tiny little bit. So it still looks glowy, but I don't see the texture coming through like I do with the lifter concealer. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of that pink powder just through the center here, and then we'll go in with the translucent. All right, so this half of the face is powdered and it looks a lot better than this side. I feel like I see a lot of texture, but that is normal. When you have super glowy products, they are going to highlight texture. There's just nothing blurring about a really strong luminous finish on the skin. However, once it's powdered, it's better, but I'll show you up close and I still see texture. So there we go. It's, you know, it looks better from a distance for sure, but up close, there's just a lot of texture. And I don't feel like I see that amount of texture with this foundation, especially once I've powdered. I feel like I can get nearly flawless finish with that one and not with this one. So I don't know if I could even recommend this foundation. If you have dry skin, you might like it. If you have very little texture on your skin, that would probably be who this foundation is better suited for. But we're gonna proceed on, and I'm gonna go back to this LA Girl bronzer here. I'm just gonna swirl both of those colors together, add a little more color. And these are not shimmery. So both shades are matte finish. So I feel like these are a great powder because you don't have to worry about it highlighting texture. Okay, now that we got everything mattified, let's go back and add a little glow. Of course we need to, right? I think I'm going to, let's tie in, I'm gonna try maybe something from here. That's really beautiful. And this shade, let's see here. Okay, that's more of a cool tone, icy pink. And then we have these two shimmery bronzy shades. Wow, those are really beautiful. All right, I'm gonna go in with a super light hand. Let's just tap in here and maybe here. And I'm gonna use this kind of the top of the cheek. Ooh, that's pretty. And even though there is a lot of glow, I really don't see visible glitter particles. So that is really good. Okay, now let's just for fun go back in here and let's do something here. Let's just go a little crazy, right? Let's see. Ooh, that is gorgeous. And that one, oh, wow, okay. And then these have like a duochrome shift. That's a little too crazy for me today. Let's just tap in both of those and see what happens. We get a little extra color. Ooh, that's pretty. So just a little bit, light tap, because these are pigmented. Now I'll go back to this shade. And let's go back on the inner corner with my long nail. Oh man. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna make it this whole week with these long nails. They say you can file them, you can't cut them, so I might be filing these tomorrow. I don't, you know, with this long of nail, it's even difficult to type, let alone play the piano. Yeah, thankfully I don't have any hardcore practicing I'm doing this week. I have to do a little, but okay. I think I'm gonna leave that shadow all over the lid just kind of as it is and not do, I was contemplating adding maybe a little bit of one of these, but I think we'll leave that for now. I recently went through my eyeliners and I found this one from Pixie that used to be one of my all-time favorites. This is Matte Mulberry. I hope they still make this. I'm just gonna put a little bit of this right close to the lash line, just on this outer part. I find that if I don't do this, sometimes my eyes can end up looking a little more downturned than I want them to be. And now I'll just kind of smudge that into the lashes a little bit. Pixie eyeliners are some of the best, and there was a time when I owned almost every color that they made and went through several of them, but I think they're one of the best at the drugstore. I do also love the Revlon multiplayer liners. Those are amazing, and the Revlon Liquid Glide eye pencils are so good too. But I just thought I would pull this one out because it was one of the few remaining Pixie ones that I have. And since we're using some other Pixie products, I thought, hey, let's remind ourselves of why we love this. Pretty shade. Okay, let's do some brows. Another new product from e.l.f. It's surprisingly, I've not even seen anybody try this yet. So let's try it together, and I have no preconceived notions of how good this is supposed to be, other than the fact that it is a microfine brow pencil, 1mm tip, which is the same as I believe the CoverGirl one, and it might be the same as the Revie Beauty. Revie Beauty might be a little bit bigger. Fine hair-like strokes, waterproof and smudge resistant, smooth glide. I got the shade Blonde. Oh, I'm not sure it's gonna be dark enough, but let's find out. Okay, I like the component, the spoolie on the other end. It seems very well done. Seems high-end to me. And okay, good and firm. I don't know, this might not be dark enough, but let's try. I feel like with e.l.f. brow pencils and brow products, they're different colors depending on which one you get. So I think though, going on my skin, this looks like a good match. And going on, it's maybe a little less pigmented than the CoverGirl one. Let's see if we can fill in this bald spot here. Could be the color that I have, but it feels a little waxy. Okay, so I've been working to try and just get something going here. And you can see it's kind of like the more you go over it, it actually removes product rather than builds it. And yeah, not finding that to set down very well. I'm going to add just a little more powder through this brow and see if that helps. 10 minutes later, boy, I'm a little disappointed. It's just a little too waxy for me. And I was wondering if this formula would be like their waterproof, what's the brow, the one that's in the white packaging, but they came out with a waterproof one that ends up kind of feeling like it's waxed your brows down, like it has hold to it. And I don't feel that. So I don't think this is the same formula or anything. Let me pull in my CoverGirl brow pencil and let's compare the two. Okay, so the pencil size is the same. The component is basically the same, but the formula, and I have blonde in CoverGirl as well, but this just sticks and adheres. Do you see just a single pass over and I have pigment? It sticks to the skin. I can build up color here without any issue. Okay, CoverGirl to the rescue. I'm sorry to say, this e.l.f. is not one I would recommend. All right, I have another brow product from Revlon, and I have actually tried this. I kept the packaging because I wanted to remind myself what this is supposed to do. It is a brow fiber filler brow gel. I have the shade 301 Blonde, and aside from it being just a really interesting brush and, you know, colored tinted brow gel, it is supposed to be partly waterproof. It says waterproof, smudge proof, and buildable formula up to 2-day wear. But it does say when you remove your eye makeup to be careful not to remove it. So I've never done that. I just always remove all of my makeup. So maybe you can get 2 days out of it. I don't know. I'm confused by the brush. I don't quite get it. The couple of times I've used it, there is this little part right here that has these itty bitty brush hairs. And then we have kind of your typical small brow brush on the end. The problem I have with this is it's so far in that it's not like you can really be precise with that and not get, you know, have a mess going on. So I do, however, that aside, the weirdness of the brush aside, I actually do like this product. I think it is easy to apply and does provide a little bit of some hold, and of course it tints the brow hairs. We'll get done. I can't remember how much hold it gives, but it is a nice color, nice and soft. I don't know if you ever have those brow days where it feels like the brows just take over and you just can't quite get them right, but I think we ended up okay. So yeah, all in all, I think this is a great tinted brow gel. Just again, a little perplexed on the brush shape and what that little part is intended to do. So let's move on to mascara. I need to curl my lashes. I have several from the drugstore that we're going to talk about. So initially I purchased this new Essence Curl Fixing. This is a lash base, and I've used this a couple of times, and I'll admit I don't have issues holding curl in my lashes. So maybe if you do, this is gonna do something extra amazing. But that aside, this did not provide any extra boost to my lashes before adding mascara. I didn't feel like it added any volume, any length, or anything. So as far as a noticeable difference using this as a base, I did not. I love the fact that it's kind of a navy blue, so that's kind of cool. But other than that, let me know if you've tried this, and if you have issues holding curl, maybe it helped. But since that was not a big winner, I pulled out my L'Oreal Voluminous Primer. This is one I've used and loved forever. And I purchased the Essence Lash Princess. It's been a long time since I tried this, and I do love it, except that it smudges for me really badly on the lower lashes. So I'm going to use the e.l.f. Lash Extender Mascara. This is the tubing mascara, and they now have it in brown. So I'm going to go ahead and apply these, starting with the primer from L'Oreal. I always forget this L'Oreal primer doesn't show up super white on the lashes, but I do like to make sure I get enough of it all over the lashes just to grab every tiny little lash. And I do actually feel like this primer helps prevent smudging as well. So just like to make sure I've got a good coat of that. Now we'll go in with Lash Princess. And a lot of people feel like this is a close dupe to the IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara. I feel like this is one of the best at the drugstore and at one of the most affordable prices. So great mascara for sure. All right, let's go next to lips. And I do have a couple of new shades of the Maybelline Lifter liners. This first shade is a little lighter. I don't think it's gonna show up enough today, but what is this called? Crop Top. And they came out with some new lipsticks as well, and they have the same shade name. So I'll show you the lipstick that matches that in a second, but that's Crop Top. Really pretty, much more peachy pink color. And then I have Upstate, which I've shown this color before. I think this is what I'm going to end up using. But before we get there, let me show you some new lipsticks. So we have Maybelline lipsticks and Revlon lipsticks. The Maybelline lipsticks, I have two of the matte formulations and then one of the satin. This shade I think is my favorite. This is 101. This is Upstate. So I actually should have, let me swatch this right next to the liner. So there's Upstate satin lipstick and the Upstate lip liner. And then Crop Top is actually in one of the matte formulations. And this is actually a very nice, comfortable matte formula. Smooth, smells really good, just like a light vanilla cookie scent. So I think the formulation, the scent, I think they really did a good job. And then the third color that I purchased is 006, and this is Hold the Door, also a matte shade. Let me show you that one. It's deeper, much deeper, and kind of a nice, cool kind of mauvey brown shade. I think this is a very beautiful shade. Now, Revlon, I was just pulled right in by the packaging. I'm like, I don't care about the formula. What's the packaging? You know, the packaging is beautiful. No, that's not true. I do care about the formula. So these are their lustrous lipsticks, but I do believe this is limited edition packaging. I don't think they're redoing all of their lipsticks, but they are new shades and they're all a cream type of formula. So this first one, 003, this is Cashmere. And I'll try to swatch these over here. And again, I feel like some of the swatches online appeared more muted than they are in person. I'll tell you in particular one shade for sure. This next one, this is the newest one I just purchased, 005, and this is a Rosewood. There's Rosewood. Beautiful, little more brown than this Maybelline shade. I have 013 Cosmos, and this one is definitely a cool pink color, very bright. These are super pigmented, so these are not sheer by any stretch of the imagination. And then 014, and this is the shade Tulip. So both of these pink colors ended up being a little brighter than I thought. So Tulip, you can see, has more warmth, and then Cosmos is definitely cooler pink. both really pretty, but a little brighter than I thought. So I usually will mix them with the shade right here. So for today, I'm kind of feeling like with my eye look, we need to go more in this family. So I'm gonna go on the lips, around the lips with Upstate. And if you're curious how Upstate compares to On It, which is another one of my favorites, here's On It. On It is just a little deeper, I think, and a little cooler. Here's Upstate right there. I'm having troubles deciding between these two. And ironically, in the bullet, they do not look at all similar, but on the hand, they do. I think the Revlon one is just slightly peachier than the Maybelline one. So let's see, we'll go with the Maybelline one. And just for scent notes, because I know many of you are like me, and like I open up a product, especially lip, and the first thing I do is I smell it. The Revlon ones do not have a scent. So just a little note there. But like I said, the Maybelline ones, it's a very nice, smooth vanilla cookie scent, which I personally love. Okay, it's been a few minutes because I filmed a hair tutorial using new hair products. When that video is up, I will link it up here. But here now is the finished look. And I have some thoughts. I did have to press in a little more powder through my T-zone again before filming, and I still feel like I look pretty textured, and it's just not the coverage level that I want if I'm going to be using a foundation. I would rather use the Wet n Wild Bare Tinted Moisturizer. I feel like with that one, I get a smidge more coverage, and it's a little more forgiving on the skin. So I'll check the wear time on this today to see if it was any different with the Grippy Primer. But as far as how it looks on the skin, I personally am not going to be running out to repurchase this, and it's not going to be one that I recommend. As far as concealer goes, again, kind of similar thing. I don't hate the texture, but I just don't find this to have a whole lot of coverage. So maybe combining one of these color correcting shades with some of my other concealers, I'll try that out. But again, not something that I am wowed by. I do love the L'Oreal Lumi bronzers. I love the lipsticks, both from Revlon and Maybelline. I think these are fantastic and at a great price. The bronzer products, I love both of these, the Winky Lux and the LA Girl. And the Pixie, I think these are just beautiful palettes. I don't think you need both. So personally, since both of them have shimmer, I feel like this is the one that I'm probably going to get the most use out of, especially because you can use them on the eyes. But those are fantastic formulation. And the e.l.f. eyeshadow, I'm surprised, but I actually think this could be a really close, like, 1 or 2 shadow look and done. So I am interested in exploring a few more of these. If it wears well, I will let you know if anything happens dramatically through the rest of the day. So all in all, I hope this was fun and helpful for you. As always, I do these videos not only because I love to try new products, but I do it because I want to save you money. Even drugstore pricing, it's getting expensive. But even if it's $5, I don't want you to waste $5 if it's not worth it. And so I hope that you enjoy these videos. I hope you find them helpful. As always, you will find everything linked and listed in the description box down below, along with all of the shade names and numbers. And I will also link the hair tutorial once that goes up, and also the nail tutorial on how I did this, and it will also include an update of how well they wore. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.